Yes.
I'd like to call the City of Richmond meeting to order this February 3rd, 2016. If everybody could please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody tonight. First item up is the approval of the agenda for the evening. Is there any additions?
No.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of meeting minutes from January 6th and January 14th, 2016. Is there any questions, additions, subtractions?
I don't see any. If there isn't any, I'll make a motion to approve both of them.
Look at that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Approval of bills to be paid. Was there any questions or inquiries?
Mr. Mayor, I have one regarding the fire department. The fire chief is here to answer that question. $1,800 repair, pumper one. What was wrong?
The exhaust that comes up into the turbo, the clamp was busted off on that. And then it was just maintenance. They went through the whole truck.
Okay.
It hasn't been serviced since, I do believe, since we've had it, so.
Yep. So there was one broken item and then
Changed a couple.
general service.
Yep, changed a couple of fuel filters and stuff like that.
Okay.
Any other inquiries?
Yeah, Mayor, I had a question. The City of St. Cloud, we got dues and subscriptions. Is that for the county membership or something?
It's for Stearns County Municipal.
Municipal, that's what.
Yeah, and it
that's
just
what-
goes through
They go
the
through the
city of
city.
St. Cloud.
That's what I figured. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I look to our motion to approve the bills.
So moved.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Consent agenda for this evening, resolution 11016, approval of January 2016 journal entries. Item B is resolution 111, 2016, acknowledgement and acceptance of legal representation and 2016 rates. Item C, resolution 112-16, 2016 corporate resolution with the State Bank of Richmond. And item D, acknowledgement of people services, January 2016 written report. Is there any questions on any of them? If not, I'd look for a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, at this time, we will open a public hearing meeting at this time at 6:35 for voluntary annexation, and the properties in question are the three properties that are part of St. Peter and Paul Church, which is the cemetery, the small lot beside it, and the lot on where the city puts its snow on every year. Those are the three lots for annexation. And the other property is the Hine property, which is located on the west side of Richmond, down on.
West of 23.
Yep.
County Road 23 and Main Street here.
Yes. Have we gotten any written reports or testimony? Is there anybody that wishes to speak during this public comment time? Is there anybody? I need to ask 3 times, so it's formality. Is there anybody have any questions or comments?
Just have one question when you're ready to know.
All right.
My question is, I don't know if Cindy can answer this or not. At one time, there was communication with the Hine family about possibly hooking up water versus sewer versus water. Do you know if there was an arrangement made?
I do not know.
Okay. I believe the question was, if one goes out, do they have to hook up both at the same time? Since this is an annexation, we have given everybody a period of time to do that. Let's say if one goes out in the next year, does the party have the additional years to hook up the other one? I believe I'm under the understanding that is they have the length, if one fails, they only have to do the one.
Right, I think they're separate.
But my suggestion to those folks is, though, if they're gonna be digging into our street, because there's a street permit to do that, they would bring both of them to their property line, if that would ever occur, rather than ripping up the street twice. But other than that, I don't have any comment. I was just wondering if there was any communication or anything regarding that item. I know that question was up in front of our city administrator at the time.
Be something to look into.
I'm reading a note that was signed by Marty on for the failure. It says that the note that the failure of one utility does not require the other utility
There you
to.
go.
That's right.
I was just wondering if it was definitely in writing somewhere, not that everybody has a handshake, but all the hands change in
Yeah.
5 years. You know, we don't, that definitely is going to be withheld on our end.
And that the other piece to that is that the property owner understands that they are responsible to get the service from their property line to their home.
Correct.
The home sits further back.
Okay.
But isn't that service actually on the south side of the road? I think when they brought it in the river station, they never went through the road because the road was
Right,
done.
so it either have to be tunneled or opened up. And since it's a county road, to have the county permits beside the city permits could be costly.
Yeah.
So,
Any other comments or questions about the annexation of those 4 properties?
if not, I make a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
All right,
Opposed? Carried. Item C, consideration of ordinance 2016-100 annexing the land at Church of St. Peter and Paul lots. I'm not gonna read the numbers. And then the Hind property on County Road 111. How do we feel? So we move.
I make a motion to annex out said property as read.
Second. Any other discussion?
This was under recommendation of the planning commission, I believe, since it's, the Hind property is surrounded by the city on 3 sides and 2 sides on all of the cemetery area,
Yep.
and the church property, I should say.
It was recommended from the planning commission as well as the letters that were written out, and they volunteered to come into it, so.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. At this time, we'll move on to the police department report.
All right. It's very brief. I am working on the year-end report that's very close to being finished. I just thought we would do this versus doing this plus the year-end report pretty much. So this number 1 just covers December. There were 79 calls in the city of Richmond. 5 of those were medicals. 3 suspicious people vehicle calls. 4 ordinance violations. 2 open doors on businesses. 42 traffic stops. During those 42 stops, there were 33 warnings issued and 21 citations. There were 23 calls for police-related service. And one of those had been a criminal sexual assault that did occur here in Richmond. That was noteworthy. Number 2 just talks about the number of calls that occurred in the city of Richmond this year. There was 1,061 calls compared to 958 the year before. It's an increase of 103. In 2013, there was 667. And like we had talked last year at this time, the reason why that it had jumped that much in the years prior had a lot to do with the computers. Now that officers can do things in their computers, where before they didn't. So there had been a lot of warnings that weren't kept track of. So that was why that number from 2013 to 14 had jumped up that huge increase. It wasn't that there was more things; there was more things being logged, if that makes sense. I conducted 2. Number 3 is I conducted 2 preschool canine demonstrations for the preschool kids at St. Boniface, the 19th and the 20th of January, and I don't know if this is much noteworthy or not. SafeWise, it's a home security company. They did a survey and they ranked Cold Spring and Richmond. They put us together as, I think they must rate police departments, I'm guessing what they do. And they put Cold Spring and Richmond together and they ranked us number 11. St. Joe is ranked number 1 for safest homes, safest cities in Minnesota. And that's where they look at violent crimes and property crimes. That's kind of how they get their numbers. And before we do number 5, that's the donations, just to let you know that since January 1st, we have had that float position, that float officer working the street. So not just Cold Spring, but Richmond also gets better coverage. So you know what I mean? So in a regular work week, there's an additional 40 hours that we're getting on top of what we have been getting. Number 5 is just a list of people and or businesses that have donated to the K-9 program. If you look at the ones that are in bold, those are the ones that are new additions to the ones that I had read last time. So if you don't mind, I would like to read the bold ones off because they were the most recent that we had just received since the last council meeting, and I'm trying to think when that was. Probably 3-4 weeks ago when I was here, maybe 3 weeks. The bold ones are Richmond Bus Company, obviously that's here, Richmond Bus Service, that's here in Richmond. They gave $1,000. Kathy and Herb Schultz, Family and In Faith Community Foundation, they live by Big Fish. They donated $1,000. Style Insurance here in Richmond donated $250. Casey's General Store here in Richmond, and the corporate, they donated $250. The Casey's here in Richmond actually were donating. They had these flyers, and you could put your name on it, like McDonald's might do for like veterans and things like that. This had been a dog head. People could put their names on there, and they had $170 in customers' donations. That was very cool. Centra Care in Paynesville, they donated $100. Cold Spring Home Pride Lions, I believe that's the female group that we have in Cold Spring. They donated $100. Cold Spring Family Dentistry, they donated $100. Central Minnesota Credit Union donated $100. And Sharon's Gifts and More, which is the building right behind you guys here, she donated $50. So that's kind of how that's going. And so far there has been $12,620 donated. Sorry about my talking. As you can hear, I've got a cold, so everything I say, I hear it twice. So you guys only hear it once, I hear it twice. So, is there any questions?
Actually, I do have one. How many part-time officers do you have?
Let's see. 4. There's 4. There's 9 full-time and there's 4 part-time.
Okay. I mean, I see the part-times once in a while. Just kind of curious.
Yeah, part-times, that's a great question, actually. I like that question a lot because the main reason we got that float person, okay, the float person is twofold. It's a float person that fills in for vacations, sick times, things like that. And they also are going to be doing like the majority of the investigations on the bigger cases. Like, let's say like this crim sex, right? We have something like that come to our office. I'm going to back up. Let's not use that crim sex. That's a bad case because that would be issued to one person. Let's say a burglary, right? Let's say the bowling alley gets broke into. The old way we used to deal with things, there might be the person handling the case when they get called, right? And then it might get passed off the next day because that person doesn't work the next day. So it get passed off. So instead of having one person work that bowling alley case, there could be 3 people, right? Now this way here with this float person, the initial officer will take the call, they'll actually give it to that person, and then that person will work it completely through. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So you don't have multiple people working one case. We had it where there was cases where there'd be 4 statements, and out of those 4 statements, they were taken by 2 different officers, you know what I'm saying? So when you take a statement, it's nice to be consistent, and if you hear something that's not consistent, you know when to get on that and get that cleared up, if that adds up. So that person's doing that. So in essence, by doing that, we have a lot less part-time people working. And by having that, it's more consistent, people working all the time, versus having a part-time officer working 1 or 2 days in the month, that's probably not a great thing for, not just for officer safety, but for the community safety, because you have someone working that job all the time. That's their job versus, 20 some days out of the week, out of the month, you're a school teacher, and for 2 days you're expected to be the police officer and, carry a gun and all that. So we still have those people, but it's way less, way less. So that's how that works. Yes.
You had 42 traffic stops here and you had 21 citations, so I figured that's half, and then you had 33 warnings. So I take it you gave a ticket for one and gave them a warning on another one, maybe if they had 2 violations at the...
Yeah.
Is that what's basically goes on there?
Yeah, let's say we stop a guy, this happens a lot. Let's say we stop a guy for speeding, right? So you got the speeding violation, you walk up there and you find out that his address isn't current on his driver's license, so that'd be a violation, and he has no proof of insurance. He might get a ticket for the no proof and getting a warning for those other 2 things, okay? But in essence, that ticket for the no insurance, if he brings his paperwork in 30 days, that in fact is a warning too, if that makes sense. Okay, so to say that these 29 citations, there's gonna be a fine associated with that, there is a chance that there is not. Okay? Because just because you got a ticket for the no proof, if you could bring that insurance card in, it's a warning also. So yeah, right. So there again, or you could stop a guy for speeding and then you find out he doesn't have a license and the guy next to him has an open container or, or a warrant or things like that. That would go, not under the, warrant would not go into the citations, but anything that the officer writes. There's times where you could write 3 people in one car, for various violations. So to say that's uncommon, no, it's very common. So,
But now in the state of Minnesota, they have to get their license, the license tab, they have to give a proof of insurance, right?
They do.
That's as of 1st of January?
That right, because before, they used to require that you had to have it.
Right.
And then I don't know if it became too difficult to look at. I don't know why they stopped doing that, to be honest with you. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because your and I insurance, one of the reasons it's that expensive is people that don't have insurance, And like I say, gosh forbid if someone that's giving you tabs has to look at an insurance card, I don't think it's that difficult. And it might prevent people from getting tabs and then they get stopped, right, for the registration, and then it turns out, the officer determines you don't have insurance. So it is a way of keeping people honest, if anything, to a certain point.
To a certain point, yeah.
Because you could buy insurance that day,
and
get your tabs
later,
and cancel your insurance the same day. Now, is that going to happen? Of course, it's going to happen. So,
But you still have a period of time to prove that you had the insurance.
yeah, yes. But if somebody goes to, let's say, buy tabs, right, on a Monday, and they get the tabs on Tuesday, could you cancel your insurance? Call or cancel it? Yes, you could.
So will the insurance companies now report that in? Are they reporting that into the state if your insurance lapse?
No.
But you give that example, I just picked some up yesterday,
Yep.
and the lady never even asked for the card. All I had to do was write my company, my policy number, and the date of expiration.
Yeah.
Once asked for the card. I had the card with,
So how would you know your policy if you didn't have your card, though? I mean,
but I'm saying she never looked at it. I had the sheet here, I handed her over the title, I wanted tabs.
Yep.
She goes, here's a sheet, write your information on, and I hand it back to her, and she never asked for the
good.
card.
No, and I'm not saying it's not foolproof. You know what I mean? It's no different than anything else.
You can't
So
expect that clerk at the window to run everything,
yeah, I know, but it'd be nice if they at least
But
looked at it. You know
when
what I
I
mean?
left, there was a lady came up, the next lady over, and the first thing the lady asked, "Do you have proof of insurance?" She said no.
Yeah.
She goes, "Well, then you have to go back and get it because
Right.
we can't give you tabs without it." So
And-
the next
right.
lady did ask for the card, but
And what's nice is too in today's age, we actually are given a sheet of paper with. There's insurance companies I've never heard of that's on this sheet, and there's the column with the names, then there's columns with phone numbers. Very few of them don't have somebody answering the phone 24/7. So if you say you have Omaha, well, there's Omaha, call the number, and they could tell you within minutes if you in fact have insurance. So that's something that's new. That's not been around very long. That's nice because back in the day, you wrote them a ticket, kicked them on their way. You didn't know if they had insurance or not. This way, there's a really good chance we could find out during that traffic stop, which is nice. So to say people get tickets for no proof, they do. You know, just looking on here, well, there's 1, 2, 3. So, looks like there's 3. Yeah, 3 were issued just in this month of December here in Richmond, you know, for no proof. So that is a very common charge, you know, if you don't have your insurance and gosh forbid the officer can't get a hold of your policy holder, that, you know what I mean, that type of thing. So yeah, so there's 3 that were written, for example, here, you know, out of the 21 citations, all 3 of them could easily have had insurance. You know, so that number goes down, but it's still a citation, you know, that type of thing, so. And I did drive around the streets this morning looking for, you know, like vehicles have been parked during the snow and stuff like that. I seen very little. I did see one here right off a hall. Somebody must have been at the bar, had too much or whatever. The car didn't start, let's just say, and left it over at night there. I mean, if that's the worst case scenario, it could definitely be worse. But it was nice to see that there were not a lot of cars that had to be plowed around this morning. So
Good.
I believe one of the main things is the same cars were parked for weeks on the same place, not just sporadic through town.
yeah,
You know, when they were using the outside curb as a parking lot, which is fine during the summer, but during the winter when there has to be snow removal and whatever, especially with ice. I do have one question.
Yep.
yeah.
Go ahead, Pat.
Okay, I have heard and been asked about the IRS fraud scam. Are we having any problem with that in the city, since we do have an older clientele in the city?
That's a very good question, actually. IRS is very common. They'll call you and say, you know, you owe X amount of dollars. Let's just use 1,000. You owe the federal government $1,000. If you take care of it today, we'll settle for $700. Then they could ask you for like your Social Security, debit cards, banking accounts, things like that. But I always tell people, don't give that information out for one. And if you do, call us and or call the banks right away. You know, but if you're going to call us, the next step is to call the bank, if that makes sense. To let people know, we do not investigate cases for the IRS. You know, so if you were to call and say, I got a phone call from the IRS saying they wanted me to settle this, I gave them some information, we will give that resident a phone number to contact the IRS. They'll investigate it. They'll look into it. We do not, for the simple reason is, it'll go nowhere, okay? Here's what happens. Many cases, not always. Someone will go to St. Cloud, like around here. They'll buy 25 throwaway cell phones. You'll go to Walmart, right? Pay by the minute cell phones. They'll buy these cell phones, put them in a box, ship them to Seattle. They'll go to Seattle. They'll ship them to Houston. Houston, they'll get in a car. They'll go across the border. They'll use these phones. Once somebody starts figuring out where these phones are, they simply dump the phones. They don't hang on to these phones. So there's no way of tracking down who in fact is using that phone, if that makes sense. So the likelihood of that person like getting a phone call here in Richmond and that person that's calling them being anywhere in the 50 states is highly unlikely. It's such a small number. But if that does happen, right, you know, or somebody saying, hey, you know, your grandson's in Canada, he's been picked up for DUI, you have to ship him $2,500 so he comes home. Those are another common scam that we've been getting. I'm trying to think of another one. Oh, if you're trying to sell something on Craigslist, we just had one. It was I think a snowmobile. It was some motorized vehicle, I don't recall. Four-wheeler snowmobile, something like that. The guy was selling it for $1,000. Somebody calls him up, says, hey, I'm interested in that. I'm going to have it shipped to my house. So I'm going to send you a check for $1,700. $1,000 for the snowmobile and $700 for shipping. But what I need you to do is send me that $700 back so I can pay the shipper to come and pick it up. That's how they get you. You send the money for the $700, right? Thinking you're going to get paid. This check is $1,700, only to find out the check is no good. Now you just sent the guy $700. So that's another very common thing. If someone's willing to send you too much money for something, it's a scam. Guarantee you, it's most definitely a scam.
But you have a toll-free number for the IRS. I've had 2 calls of older people about this. I said, well, to report it to you. whether you're
Yes.
investigating or not, but you do have the number that they can make the call.
We definitely have a phone number to give them to get to the IRS, yes.
That's,
Yes. So, yeah, definitely. And then another thing I always tell people is when you're going to say sit down with supper with somebody, going to visit somebody, bring that topic up. Because more people that know about that topic, the less likelihood that someone's going to get scammed. So, talking to other people is going to inform other people. And a lot of times when you're sitting down with those people, that's the same thing that they're going to be scammed on, that certain age. And there is no rhyme to the reason why they get these phone calls. Because I've also dealt with people that don't have computer access at home, but yet they're getting phone calls. So I don't know, how they get your number. I thought there's a common link somewhere. I'm not able to find that. I have no idea how they get their numbers.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the second item, temporary office help.
Mr. Mayor, I asked for this to be put on the agenda. Not speaking too much with Cindy, but since Cindy's covering two roles, I believe we have to give her some latitude to get some, if it's just answering phones, if it is help billing or whatever type or help that you need. I believe we have to do this until the interviews take place and the hiring process starts. I'm not quite sure if we should go to a temporary agency and hire somebody with qualifications and secretarial qualifications, or if we just advertise once, 1 week in a paper. I'm asking for Cindy's opinion on this.
It would be it would be nice to have someone answering phones after this week
Well, correct, and that's why I'm here asking this question, is because you can't cover. I called twice today and I didn't get an answer. I hung up because I figured you were busy or getting the mail. You can't be here all the time because you've got running around to do too. I understand that. But with that also said, we should probably, have somebody here to do that. If you need them 8 hours, that person 8 hours or whatever, you would do that hour scheduling or whatever. Whether we go through a temporary agency or employment agency or what. I'm not familiar with this at all. I just know that there's agencies out there that will send a qualified secretary out or something like this. So that's why I want to bring it up to the council.
Do you want to put something together by our workshop, or is that too far out? Or would you rather have it sooner than that, a person to help, or?
probably sooner. That now that the workshop's not till the 25th.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be a lot of hours. It would be nice. I think in the end, it's gonna be cheaper to hire somebody than to pay me overtime.
Oh, yes. And then won't stress you out. You have meetings at night.
Right.
You're expected to be here in the morning. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So with that, to have somebody at least answer the phones or take messages about whatever it may be, to assist you.
No, it doesn't, a few hours or whatever.
Start them off at 4 hours a day, or should we go 8 hours a day? Or what do you feel?
I think let her figure that out after depending on the kind of help she gets.
Right.
Might be a difference of you might be able to use them for.
I don't think there needs to be a full-time person, another
Okay.
person. I think.
I'm just,
But even somebody did a couple times a week to be here for.
I did.
Busy days,
4
your
hours
busy
a day.
days,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
which days you're busy, another. I think maybe something, if we could, maybe she wanna look into the temp service, maybe get back to, I know we don't wanna wait until then, maybe get back to the mayor and tell them what the rates are at or whatever like that. I think that'd be appropriate way to handle
And with
that.
that, an email to everybody saying the rates are from here.
Right.
There's-
Yeah.
Just inform everybody, we can email back, say, yeah, it's a go on my
It's a
end,
go.
or whatever.
Yeah. If that
Okay.
works for you.
Okay, let's make it simple and easy and just get it done that way.
All right,
Good.
thank you.
You take a two-person office and go down to one, you can't stretch that thing.
Is there any other discussion on the temporary help? All right, council report for this evening. We'll start off with the EDA.
Mr. Mayor, the ADA changed officers in January, which we plan on doing every January now. We started this last year. I was the chair now, or the president is Mike Mathiasen, and the vice president is Mike Rickey. We went through the projects for the year with a list of approximately, Cindy, what, 6 or 5 that we're looking at. Some of the same projects are still going, similar to the Business Enhancement Fund, the Revolving Loan Fund, the other ones that are out there. We're looking at all kinds of different little projects or whatever to see if we can strike some development anyway. So right now it would be up to Mike to give those reports from now on, since he's president, but since he's not here, basically we got pretty much everything in order, and we welcome the new member.
All right. Anybody have any questions?
And that new member is, so many of the people,
Oh, the new member is Jim
some people know.
Bruner from the bank.
All right. Anybody have any other questions? Move on to Planning Commission. Josh and Tim. Anything?
Tim was absent, I believe. No, you were there.
That was there.
Our meeting was last Thursday on the 28th. We also had election of officers. They stayed the same, with Jeff McAnance being the chair, Ken Gherkin being the vice chair, and Chad being the secretary. We only discussed 2 topics. We discussed the solar farms again, the proposed solar farms going north of town, and who would be attending the county meeting. And we also discussed the possibility of extending sewer and water south on 71 in the near future, hopefully. Looking at getting to the businesses out there.
Anything else?
Our next meeting is it actually got moved. It is February 18th
18th.
at 6 o'clock.
That's a public hearing, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
A variance request.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Anything else for the Planning Commission? Any questions? Move on to the Parks and Ricori Trail. Tim?
Ricori Trail, we have a meeting tomorrow morning in Rockville. Prior to that, we're just kind of giving us an update on some of the funding that Heidi was trying to go and get the applications in, which she got those all done. We got an email back saying that. And then we're still working with the railroad on purchasing that, and Adam kind of gave us a little minor report, basically, that things are going well, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more tomorrow.
And that's
On the update on the Ricori Trail.
And that's connecting from East Texaco to the city
East Texaco to the city of Rockville, yes.
Stage 2.
That'd be stage 2.
All right. Anybody have any questions about the trail or the parks?
I don't have the report for Kevin, so I can't.
All
I know
right.
he's busy. He's been real busy.
Then we'll move on to the Tri-City Cable, which we had a meeting in January, and the topic was talking about a full-time employee, which at this time is not a full-time employee. It's a part-time. And that was most of our conversation, was that, and the new technology of putting new speakers and new technology in Richmond and in Cold Spring to kind of mimic what Rockville already has done. But when talking with Brad, the prices are a little more steeper than what a guy thinks. And so we told him to go back and see what some other prices are, just for ideas of future, what to do differently. So how to make the council meetings more interactive, or, move around better, I guess, for a better word. Do you have anything else you want to add?
We ended the year $14,000 ahead of last year in collecting, partly due to the new contract with Mid-Continent.
So it's a viable organization. It makes money, so it's, it stands on its own. So, all right. The other council report for this evening is Stearns County Municipal Meeting, which I attend. This month's topic was sex trafficking, and if people been reading the St. Cloud Times in the last month, they've had their first cases where have gone to trial and actually got guilty pleas out of it. I mean, it's not something we want to see around here, but at least they're going after it. There is a task force set up in Waite Park that's been kind of helping with all the things that have gone on there and around. And don't think it doesn't happen here. It happened. The girls that were involved in it that were were from small towns in northern Minnesota. So don't think that it doesn't happen or can't happen. It can happen anywhere. That was kind of what their talk was, and it was brought to us by the Stearns County attorney, Janelle Kendall, and her two main guys that are in charge of those divisions gave us a pretty good long, telling you how it happens, where it happens, and whatever. So it's kind of a pretty decent presentation. And we had our normal appointments that all got appointed, which is a feedlot appointment, and which one of our members sit on, and the other one is RW, which takes care of the roads and waterways for Stearns County. The Jim Rothstein from St. Martin got appointed to that. Anybody have any questions?
Then you're the chair.
Yes. Okay. All right. Is there any other council reports for this evening? Not. Is there any requests for council actions, allocations, or transfers? No. Other matters of concern for this evening? Just a reminder, dog licenses are due on May 1st, and you need to have your shots updated and that stuff all turned in when you get your dog licenses. And our February regular meeting for our workshop, which is normally the 18th, has been moved to February 25th due to lack of council members on the 18th. So we're moving it to the 25th so all the members can be here. And is there any other items?
Just one item, Mr. Mayor. I've received a letter here, and I believe you all have a copy regarding the water bills to apartments. Have we received any other ones besides this?
No.
Okay.
I think, maybe speaking for Gordy here, but after the snow, just make sure that your fire hydrants are cleaned up. I know after the snow, you always request that, so, after we just had our little snow, that if you can, and anybody that lives by them, please put them away.
Anything else? Cindy, you have anything else that you...
I do not.
Steve, do you have a report for the day or not? Or?
I do not.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to skip it. Is there anything else anybody wants to bring up for the evening? If not, we will be adjourned. Thanks, everybody.